The holidays are over and I've been good this year, so I got a bunch of DS games and I got a few pickups that I gathered while things were on sale. Game number one, Spider-Man Battle for New York. I've been collecting the Spider-Man games on the DS as they're really good games. Of course, I can say this a lot, they play like Super Nintendo games, and that's really awesome. I'm gonna take a look at the booklet here. This is what I love about the DS games as well, is they typically have booklets, and this one's very simple. Some of them will have really nice artwork, but as long as there's a manual in there, that's really cool. The Legend of Cage 2. This game actually surprised me as it's really fast paced, something that I'm really into. I really want that fast movement, that controlled combat, so it really makes you feel like you're in control of the gameplay rather than something that's turn-based combat. There's not much control there, but we're going to take a look at this manual. This one might be a little more artistic. No, standard. It might just be my skills, but this game is rather challenging, and I was kind of, dying a few times. Pokemon Rumble Blast on the 3DS. It's not the best Pokemon game, but it is rather enjoyable. It's very simple, and it's kind of just dumb fun. You play and collect little toy Pokemon in the game. This one actually has a manual, as we can see here. Not much of a manual for the 3DS, but typically it's just a small little piece of paper, so this is rather impressive. Pokemon Rumble World. And the disappointment in the manual? This thing. But it's okay. We get a nice case. Some artwork on the cover. And it's essentially the same gameplay. Collect little toy Pokemon, run around, press the A button, and let your brain float away. So hear me out for this next two games. Typically, licensed games like this were going to be under a different name of something else, but they kind of got reworked and then they're like, okay, good enough for this. Like G.I. Joe for the DS. Narnia, The Lion, the Witch in the Wardrobe. I know, it's a weird pickup. Now, I personally don't know what happened. Could have sworn when I looked at it, there was a case. There's no game because it's in my 3DS right now. But I could have swore I did have a manual. It's not behind here. But I don't buy incomplete games. It's not up to my standards. I'm better than that. It's a relatively cheap game, so you don't have to worry about breaking the bank when you're only gonna spend about $5 on this game. Complete. Narnia, Prince Caspian on the DS. This one actually plays differently than the previous game. This is more of a turn-based strategy game, RPG, whatever. But there is a manual in here. Just like the other ones we've seen. Well, some artwork right there. Pretty cool. It's nice to have a manual. Gives you something to look at when you're in the car on the way home. Now this again is a cheap game, about $5, so it's worth the $5 and it's worth your time. These two are the most expensive of the pickups, coming in at about $25 to $30 for each of them. You can probably get them for cheaper. Sometimes a little more expensive, depends where you're looking. When I was looking at this one online, Spider-Man Battle for New York goes for a little bit more. I had it on hold, but when I saw it in the store, it was like, I gotta pick it up, because it was actually at a much better price. I can see the value of these two games going up. These are relatively cheap for 3DS games, coming in at about $30 to $40 each, depending where you go as well. You don't want to pay any more than that. It's not worth it. They're not amazing games, honestly, just dumb fun. You're going to throw it in, you're going to play it for 30 minutes, and you're going to be bored. But it's kind of a good in-between game to cleanse your palate when you're figuring out what you want to play next. Throw this in, and you'll figure out something else quick. $5, keep in mind, no more. It would be worth it. Okay, listen, $8, no more than 10 if you want to buy them new, sealed. I'm pretty sure these are out there somewhere, and that would be something cool to add to the collection. These kind of lower budget DS games that aren't worth as much, but you can still grab them sealed from various places. They might be around somewhere. I see a few sealed games around stores, and they don't go for much. They're only about $20 even on the DS. But again, depending on the game. My example was the Avatar game on the DS, but that's not worth picking up at all. Bonus Switch pickup round. Pokemon Snap. This is an amazing game, and I've already sunk at least over 10 hours into this game. It's a lot better than I thought it would be. I was playing the original Pokemon Snap on the N64. I am that old. I was playing it while it was in Blockbuster, printing out those little stickers or whatever they gave us. And it was good times, but this is absolutely amazing. The World Ends With You remix. Now, I surprisingly don't own the DS version. I had both in hand when I was about to buy the DS version, but then I saw this for half the price, and there is a different sort of feel and take when you play the DS version. But considering this one has a new added chapter, it's on the Switch, and it was half the price. I was actually able to pick up 2 games for the price of that one. The World Ends With You. Again. But new. This is The World Ends With You Neo. It's a nicer, fancy 3D looking game that I still have sealed, that has been on my list for quite some time, but I got it while it was on sale for around $30. So for both games on the Switch, I paid for the price of the DS game that I would have gotten. So can't go wrong with that deal, especially if it's on Switch. Always go with the cheaper option. That's why it's good to have multiple consoles, especially an Xbox. And that concludes today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Comment down below what you would play first. Out of the DS games, the Switch games, let's see.